Hello and welcome to my very first circuit tune for Gran Turismo 7, and straight off the bat, if you are new to the channel, but especially if you are a returning face who have used my tunes before, you need to know that this is going to be pretty different to how I would usually do tuning. The reason for that, before we get into the settings, and I know some of you will skip forward, but trust me, this information is important to understand why I've done it this way, is the tuning in this game is simply different. The cars handle differently, of course, but more so it's the performance points being in the game again that changes everything. In GT Sport that wasn't there. And because of the fact that the points are so sensitive, wherein changing suspension or gearbox even can alter that, even something like the diff, I needed to build a tune for you guys which wasn't ridiculously high and also not ridiculously expensive. So I gave myself the challenge of fitting the fewest possible parts to the car to make it that much better. So literally all I've done costs 30 grand on this car, and that is it. Now of course you can do whatever you want. You can give it as much power as you want, you can drop the weight, put it on racing tyres, give it NOS. I would recommend doing all of that if you can. But this is the bare bones tuning to give you better handling and more control on the SAG minimum budget. And also it means that it doesn't affect the performance points too much, so you can swap that around as necessary. So, as you can see, all I've done is the suspension and the diff. That's it. And as I said, this is designed to be a framework, so you can plug in and out all of the other parts, but these settings will give you a fundamentally more controlled, more stable base to work from. So for the suspension, any who used my tune for this car in GT Sport will see some similarities. We've got the ride height on 100mm on the front, 135 on the back, and incidentally, if your units of measurement are different, you can change that in the menu, or obviously just convert them on Google. As far as the anti-roll, that's on 6 front and rear. The dampers are actually the highest all round. Might seem a bit extreme, but bear with me. The frequency is on 2 and 2.3, 2.3 being the lowest on the back. The camber is neutral, which is quite rare for me in a tune. I do like a bit of camber, and the toe even is neutral as well, which is no surprise to anyone. I often do that. As far as then the diff, which is all the only other thing we've done, then we've got 60 on initial torque, 20 on acceleration, and 20 on braking as well. And of course, it's rear-wheel drive, so you don't have the torque distribution to worry about. So that is literally it. And as you can see from the performance points at 643, it's barely any higher than stock. I think it goes up from like 630 or 635 or something like that. So there's barely any difference. Now, of course, what you want to see is what kind of a difference does it actually make on the track? Well, actually, it makes a pretty big difference. Now, in terms of the actual lap time, the difference isn't that crazy. The reason why it's not crazy is very simple. A car being easier to drive doesn't mean it's always going to be quicker, because a certain car, if it's more challenging, might be really good. Think of something like a Lancia Stratos or a Shelby Cobra. They are very good performance cars, but they're certainly not easy to drive. So like I've said before, my tunes are not designed, specifically not designed for top-tier professional drivers. Those guys already know how to tune their cars and what they like to use. My tunes are for people who don't know how to tune and just want to be able to control a car a bit more. For those people, it probably will give you a better lap. So for me, for example, when I ran this car completely stock, it did a 151.6, or close. It was like a 0.561. Then with this setup, just the suspension and the diff, same tyres, I'm using no driving aids apart from ABS, it dropped to a 150.920. So in other words, about 600 milliseconds, 0.6 of a second. That's a pretty significant difference given that all we've done is suspension and diff, but at the same time you can definitely feel that if you were to, for example, learn to use the stock car, you would end up probably being quicker than this tune. So like I said, that's not the point of the tune. This isn't trying to make you top 10 people in the world, it's just helping those people who find something like a 911 to be really challenging, or maybe you're newer to the game and trying to get used to the physics. It's going to make it that much easier to get back into it and to actually enjoy it, rather than feeling like the car's fighting against you all the time. So give it a try. Give me your feedback down below if you found it helpful, and it's definitely much heavier through corners, which is the whole point, because it's easier to plan and prepare for understeer than it is for oversteer. So overall, stick around on the channel, of course, for more tunes. I hope this one helps you out, and of course drop your suggestions and requests down below for more. But until next time, I'll see you then, and for now, as always, Thanks for watching.